Merry Christmas, everybody.
Ho, ho, ho.
And a Happy New Year, because we're going to take a little bit of time off after this bad boy.
Yes. And happy holidays to all those who do not celebrate.
Yes.
Find something to enjoy, during this cold, well, this depends on where you live, but if you live nearby us in the Midwest, you'll know how cold it's getting.
Oh, thank you for saying happy. I did not mean to come across as one of those people.
No.
Merry Christmas.
Hey,
yeah.
no, you're not.
I
would hope our listeners by now would know that you're not by the way. But if you don't celebrate, it's all good. I hope you have a great
a joyous Kwanzaa, a happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah, whatever. And if you celebrate none of it, have a good time.
Not too good a time though.
Have a good time.
Yeah.
Be safe, but have a good time. Try and make the most of it. We hope you guys are all healthy, happy out there.
Yes.
That's what it's all about. So,
do you have any? I don't know. I'm not like a big. Well, I think we've talked about this before. I'm not a big Christmas horror guy. I'll watch it every once in a while, but
I don't like to blend my Christmas and my horror too much. I will watch. I'll watch a good Christmas comedy though.
Okay.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Like a Bad Santa, I'm all for it.
Bad Santa, I watch Scrooged every year.
Great choice. Like I'll watch a Christmas comedy. Christmas horror, it's not that I'm against. It's not like I'm offended by it by any stretch. I'm just not into it.
Yeah, me either.
I don't think there's a lot of great Christmas horror films to begin with. That might be blasphemy for some folks.
I've got a Krampusbach.
I do think Krampus is one that I could see myself watching around the season because it's kind of a fun.
I'm not big on any of the Black Christmases.
Nope. Nope. I don't like the Silent Night movies very much.
Silent Night. I've got a soft spot for Christmas Evil, but that's just because it's insane.
Yeah, that one's kind of fun. Santa's Sleigh is a lot of fun.
Yeah, there are some like P2.
Yeah,
talked about P2 many times.
Jack Frost.
No, but we've gotten a lot of them recently, and I don't know. I kind of I'm not against them. I'm just
I like feeling warm and fuzzy during the holiday season. It's the one time that I like to feel that really very nostalgic. I let myself get absorbed in the vibe.
Absolutely.
And so because I watch horror movies like year round, it's the one time where I'm like, I can take a break from that. I guess.
I think so I'm thinking back, this is our third or fourth straight Christmas themed episode. We did Santa's Sleigh. Mm-hmm. And then we did It's a Wonderful Knife last year.
Yes.
Which was cute, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah. And this one is a Christmas theme one we're going to be talking about here in a little bit, Terrifier 3.
Yes. Perhaps the most, blasphemous of the films we've watched thus far.
I think it does a good job of taking advantage of its.
Yeah, it does. I wasn't
Christmas
sure if I was going to at first. I'm like, are we going to do more than what the opening sequence sets up? But they do a good job. Yeah, they do. There's one sequence that I and my wife can attest to this, I was choking with laughter because it was just the funniest thing I'd ever seen.
And for those of you who would like to hear Nikki, we are planning on doing a Tiny Terror.
Yes.
That will be out.
We're bringing Nikki back by popular demand.
On our Patreon as soon as you can hear this, and then it'll be on the main feed next week around Christmas time.
She just watched all three of the Terrifier films for the first time.
So it will hopefully be a mini Nikki Fight the Franchise.
It is.
Yeah.
We'll do
I
like that.
Mini Fight the Franchise.
I like that.
But first, we've got some feedback here. Oh, and also check out the Midwest Game Nerds. They're talking about the Indiana Jones game that I'm very excited about because it's coming to PlayStation. I have a PlayStation next spring, and it looks amazing. And
it was Xbox only at first, right?
Yeah, at launch it's Xbox exclusive, and then I think in the spring 2025 it says it's coming to PS5 too.
Cool,
so.
That's sweet.
Yeah. And they're also talking about the Game Awards, so check them out. We've got some feedback. horrormovieyearbook@gmail.com. Email. Our good friend Tom reached out to us.
Yes.
And he did what we ask, and it's delightful. And even wrong in some cases. So, because I read it before. I'm joking, Tom. He knows this. 90s and horror movie. Oh, so here's some feedback based on me thinking about stuff you guys talked about over the last few weeks in no particular order.
I like it.
So our 90s and 2000 horror movie rankings. I can't do it. There are too many movies, and this exercise is tiring. However, my first quote-unquote horror movie that I sat through to the end, I was a coward in my youth, was Final Destination 3. It was 2007, and Final Destination 3 was hot off the presses on standard definition DVD.
Ah, yes.
My crush, who loved horror movies, had invited a few folks over to watch the movie. I was very hesitant to participate, but my crush was there, and the rest of the folks would eat me for lunch if I showed any signs of fear.
Gotta tough it out.
Yep. These kids are vicious. I buckled in, took a deep breath, and tried to enjoy the carnage. You know what? I had a pretty good time. The nail gun kill was hilarious. Yes, it was. The weight room kill was absurd. Yes, it was. And I'm never going into a tanning bed as long as I
I was just going to say
live.
the tanning bed kill is... Yeah.
Is that your favorite?
Yeah, because it's so stupid. It's great. Yeah. Yeah.
Have you ever been in a tanning bed?
No.
I have. When I was
Have
young.
you?
So when I was younger, my parents, like...
They own a tanning bed?
No, there are tanning salons, and when we would go on vacation, they wanted to do it before we went on vacation because they didn't like to burn. Like they would burn under the sun, and if you got
a base tan.
If you got a base tan, you wouldn't burn as bad.
Okay.
So they made us go too. I hated it because a tanning salon or like a tanning bed has a smell to it, and you smell like it for like a day and a half afterwards.
Okay.
So I have not been since I was a kid. In fact, they kept going, and I told them I don't want to go anymore. Like once I get like, it was, yeah. So
I couldn't get a tan until I spent a summer in Colorado.
Okay, closer
it was
to the
something
sun.
about this. I got tan out in Colorado, and I was like, this can happen. And not that I'm very fair skinned, so it's When I say I get tan, it means I don't burn basically.
Yeah, my wife is my wife spends 2 seconds out in the sun and she's a lobster.
Yeah.
You may ask, did anything happen between me and my crush? Of course not. Watching a silly Hollywood picture doesn't cure you from cowardice.
That's all right.
Favorite Tony Todd performance? I'm not super familiar with his filmography, so I'll say Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen.
Is he a Transformer?
I believe he is a Transformer. I just don't remember which one. I am not a Transformers guy.
Yeah.
Any of them, honestly. I used to like the Rock'em Sock'em Robot set I had, but
that first movie's kind of fun.
Yeah, I like the Bumblebee movie.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, I like that one.
Heard the last one was pretty good, the animated one.
Yeah, I've heard good things about that. I haven't
sweet.
watched it yet.
But I don't know. I'm not a big Transformers lore guy, so.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. But Tony Todd was in them. I don't know who he played. I'm sure he was fantastic as he always was.
Yeah, of course.
Favorite Bill Paxton performance?
Oh.
One false move, hell yeah. Stars Bill Paxton, Billy Bob Thornton, and Cinda Williams.
Sure.
Bill Paxton plays a small-town sheriff that gets in over his head when Billy Bob and CW take their Cinda Williams take their crime spree to his small town. Paxton does his charming Southern boy thing while having to thwart Billy Bob and rescue Cinda Williams from her unfortunate situation. As you may have guessed, Billy Bob effortlessly plays a despicable murderer that probably doesn't understand what tariffs are. Cinda Williams has to do a lot of emotional heavy lifting while stuck between a rock and hardwood. You know what's funny though, Tom? I think there are a lot of people who don't understand.
Yeah.
Fantastic movie, very grim. Also, rest in peace.
Yeah. One false move is fun. I haven't watched it in a long time. There's a lot of really great kind of under the radar Paxton movies. The one I really like is the Walter Hill one. It's Paxton, Ice Cube, and Ice-T.
Is it No Escape?
No, it's I'm gonna.
I'm blanking on it now. It's not No Escape. That's the Ray Liotta one.
That one's kind of crazy too.
Yeah,
No
Walter
Escape.
Hill. Oh my gosh, we have to find this out because it's going to bother me.
Yeah, I can pull it up.
Trespass.
Trespass. Yeah. So it's got both ices.
Bill Sadler's in this too.
Yes, William Sadler. Yeah. So that's a cool movie. And it's super, like, people don't really talk about it, and I think it's worth watching.
Walter Hill has a filmography full of those kind of movies.
I love Walter Hill's filmography. He doesn't always hit, but all of his stuff is kind of cool and interesting in its own way. So yeah, if you have not seen that, check it out.
A couple more from Tom here. How do I make it to the theater as often as I do with an infant? We had asked this question.
Yes.
My wonderful wife and my wonderful mom. We have our non-baby activities we like doing, and we schedule time, usually when the baby sleeps, to do them. If there's a schlocky werewolf movie starring Frank Grillo at a theater 30 minutes away.
Whoa.
Did you know this? I didn't know if you knew this. It just came out. Yeah, it's called Werewolves, I believe.
Oh, my.
I make sure everything at home is taken care of and give myself a few hours to see the movie while my wife does the Lord's work. The same goes for her. If we both need time away from the precious baby, we'll call in the cavalry, their mom. So, hey.
So this is wonderful advice.
Yeah.
And if you have the resource, I understand not everybody has the resources to do this. But if you can follow this path that Tom has set up here where you take moments for yourselves.
Yes.
Make sure everybody's getting the time. Because look, you lose a lot of you time when you are married and have a kid or kids. You do lose a lot of you time. So it's very important to not be afraid to talk to your partner about, hey, I want to take a couple hours, and whether it's going to see a movie or
doing this,
I don't know, going window shopping or doing what we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
This is very important stuff.
Yep.
It's very important. So try if you can to do that.
And it's good. Yeah, that's good advice. And it's good. Like my wife and I too, we have I've started staying up later because I need that time to,
Sure.
And my wife and I have shows we watch we
sure.
try to make
we
sure
stay up later than we probably should too.
Yes.
So.
But but I've thought about that before. I'm I'll sacrifice the sleep.
Yeah. I'm
just
cool with it.
Yep. Super Troopers, good. No. My friends growing up were obsessed with it and claimed it was the funniest thing on this side of 80s Chevy Chase. Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you something. Your friends are wrong there because a lot of 80s Chevy Chase kind of suck too.
Yeah, some of that's pretty bad.
Yeah. I thought it was anti-comedy. It made Larry the Cable Guy look like Larry David. Come on, Tom. You're a little harsh here. A little harsh here.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like Super Troopers.
Okay.
But I'd have to rewatch it to let you know if I rate it as lowly as Tom does. That would be I'd have to do that.
Hey, to each their own. To each their own.
For sure.
Yeah, comedy's tough. Horror adjacent content. I've been watching a lot of David Lynch movies recently. Some of them are downright terrifying. Are you considering covering him at all? I can't recall any Lynchian episodes of yours. Any thoughts on his work or smoking habits? Well, his smoking habits have left him in a pretty rough spot, if I recall.
Have they?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
There was those great videos too where he would just get online for 15 seconds and give the weather every day. That was a thing he did.
Lynch is.
I'm trying to think of what you and I we could do a Eraserhead.
We have not done any Lynch, which I can see. So I can see how that's kind of weird for a horror, but his stuff is so. It doesn't fit really into any genre in a lot of ways, so I kind of have a hard time. You know what I mean?
We could do Firewalk with me, Twin Peaks, but then you would have to watch Twin Peaks to
which
really...
I will not be doing.
Yes,
I've seen some of Twin Peaks,
and the thing with Mulholland Drive has the scariest moment in the history of cinema,
but it's not a horror film.
yeah, it's
yeah. If you can suggest a certain David Lynch movie that you think fits the horror,
what we do,
Blue Velvet, maybe.
I do love Blue Velvet. I've got the Blue Velvet Criterion. I need to pop that bad boy out.
I've been to the Blue Velvet house.
Really?
I have.
Where's that
at? It's in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right down the street from one of the One Tree Hill houses.
Very nice.
You never know what goes down in small town America.
No, you don't.
Elephant Man, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Eraserhead, maybe. Yes, there's. We will try and get some Lynch in. I can't do Firewalk with me because I'm not going to. I cannot commit to a TV show of any length at this point in time.
The tough thing with Twin Peaks too is
Lost Highway.
Ooh.
Okay.
I had forgotten about that. I would Lost Highway was a movie when I was younger. I was obsessed with because I had a Nine Inch Nails song on the soundtrack too.
Yeah.
And I just remember the advertisements for it being really creepy.
Super creepy.
Yeah.
Lost Highway might happen.
Okay.
So I'm scrolling through, and I think that would be the one I'd probably be most apt to.
Yes, that's
dive
not a bad
into.
one. Yeah,
yes,
I think that would fit with what we do here.
Yes. All right.
Cool.
Good.
Thank you, Tom. And then
Awesome.
one more piece of feedback. Joe let us know that we hit his number one on Spotify, his Wrapped. We were his number one listen to. We beat out, I think, the Ringer NHL podcast. I think it's called Spit and Chicklets. So,
I watched listened to the NFL Ringer one.
Yeah.
We beat it out? Nice.
We beat out for him, and then we also beat out the Steve Austin show. So in your face to both of those. Thank you, Joe.
Screw you, hockey and Stone Cold.
And Joe's been a little bit under
How's
the
Joe
weather.
feeling?
He's doing better. He
That's
seems
fantastic.
to be doing fine.
I'm happy to hear it. I was
So,
going to ask.
Yeah, he's doing good.
Good.
And
Glad to
he's
hear it.
hopefully listening to this right now, and hopefully he's watching Terrifier 3 to get ready. Or he has
Absolutely.
watched Terrifier 3 because we're about to spoil it here in a minute. But first, we got to exchange gifts.
Yeah, 'tis the season. We bought each other some gifts here. I have no clue what Tim got for me. Before I give you your gift, I want you to know that I just wanted you to have a piece of home.
Interesting.
That's all.
Did you get this from Time Travelers?
No.
Oh, okay.
Little piece of home. No, I think this is the first time I've bought you a gift ever in the history of our friendship that it was not from Time Travelers. But yeah, I just wanted you to,
Oh my gosh. Excuse the wrapping paper. Is this a model of a die-cut, of the Toretto house?
The Toretto home, yes. Where all the backyard barbecues took place. Isn't that beautiful? I thought you'd like that.
Incredible.
Yeah, I thought you could put it, set it up somewhere nice.
Thank you.
It can just remind you of a special place.
Where did you find this? Could I ask?
I don't remember.
And it's got the.
I can't believe it was made.
It's got the car made up. Yeah, I've got a gift for you that I stopped and I can't believe this.
I gasped when I saw this thing.
The Fast and the Furious does have a weirdly nerdy fan base.
Yes,
I can see
as it went on. Yeah.
It got nerdier and nerdier. There's a podcast I used to listen to. They did laps, and so they were last time I checked, they were on lap 12 of Fast and Furious 2. They would watch the movies in order and just keep going over and over.
Oh my god! And I'd rewatch all those.
Yeah, and they would talk about news and stuff, but they would do it every week. I think they started to mix in other movies like kind of connected. They would do other Justin Lin movies.
That's great.
But yes, thank you very much. This is awesome.
Yeah.
I think this will go on my my little podcast nook behind me.
That's
right
good.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I was gonna say I have no idea where you're gonna put it, but yeah, it's it's a little slice of heaven.
I'm gonna need the bag back.
And what the fuck is this? There's legs.
You can see the legs sticking out.
Oh man.
I was walking through Time Travelers with my son.
There are legs poking out of this bag.
And he was grabbing at everything, and then he was grabbed at something over here.
What's happening here?
And I could.
Oh my god!
I cannot believe.
What
I stopped
in the world?
and I looked and I go, "What is this?"
Where did you find this?
This was in Time Travelers. It was just it was over, I think, kind of by where the Street Sharks. Time Travelers is our local comic book store. We've talked about it a lot.
They just moved.
It's a very nice place.
Big building.
Big building. It's very well set up. I think you and I agree. It's one of the better shops in.
It's already become one of the best shops.
Yes.
In Metro Detroit for sure.
And they have so much stuff.
But here's what's amazing about. First of all, this is amazing. Thank you. Second of all, this is great. Look at his hair.
So tell the good people what you're holding right now.
This is I probably should. I'm holding a plushie, and the legs were sticking out of the bag, which kind of alarmed me. And this is a plushie of Dr. Tongue from Day of the Dead. One of my favorite zombies.
Who I believe you see what is in the opening, right?
Yeah, he's
Day of the Dead. Yeah.
The title screen pops up over his head.
Yes.
This is great. Thank you. He's what I love about this is that because Time Travelers now has space to hold all of its stuff. My guess is this thing's been sitting in Time Travelers for a while.
Yeah.
And this is wonderful. He's gonna have a special place down here.
So I think he was just kind of hanging out.
Josie might try and steal him though.
Over it. Well, my son was obsessed with him.
Did he like him?
He was yeah, because he was just he was in his stroller. Because the one time we took him in there without a stroller, and it was a disaster. So he's in his stroller. He was not happy, so I gave him snacks. That calmed him down. But then he was just grabbing at everything in Time Travelers. I'm buddy, you can't do this.
Yeah.
But he grabbed at something in that area, and I went, oh my god. So I go, this has to go to Willie.
Oh,
I can't imagine.
That's very thoughtful. I'm going to snuggle up next to him right here. We're going to hang out next to each other. I think we did all right.
Merry Christmas.
Yes. Merry
Happy
Christmas,
New Year.
sir.
You got any resolutions?
A lot.
What's that?
A lot.
Okay.
Eat better, drink less, work out more. Those are probably the three. Take better care of
What
myself.
was it?
How about
I
that?
had an idea here because I wanted to say it on the podcast because it was podcast related. Oh, my resolution, podcast related. Obviously keep doing it, but for the honor roll episodes, those bonus ones I do, I really want to focus in. And this is actually, I was playing an indie game last night because I watched a top 10 indie games of the year.
Sure.
It's called The Cub, and it's a lot of fun. It's like the old Do you ever play the Jungle Book game?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like that.
Genesis.
Yeah, it's like that. But it's like a post-apocalyptic game. It's
Really?
Do you ever play the game Inside? Or you know of it?
I know of it. Yes.
Yeah, it's similar to that art style, and it's on Switch. It was $5, and
Wow.
it made a couple top 10 lists. But I played it last night. I'm why don't I play more indie games? I love platformers.
There's a lot of cool ones. The Switch is
Switch is great for it.
Yeah, there's a lot of trash, but there's a lot of really good
It's
stuff.
a little laggy. Some of the Steam stuff kind of gets a little laggy on Switch, but it doesn't. I don't think it affects the game that much. Anyway, I'm sitting there going I just want to watch like more indie stuff, like more indie horror,
Sure.
more indie wrestling, more indie,
Yeah.
play more indie games, read more indie comics. Because like I think that's like as I get older, like that's where I get a lot of
You discover
enjoyment
really new stuff. And,
yeah. And so for like the honor roll, I just like next year, like I really want to focus in on like newer indie horror and like
Okay.
I want to like discover like the next Terrifier.
I like that.
For me,
I
or
like
like
that.
the younger crop of directors who I think like can go on.
That's cool. I
'Cause,
like that.
Yeah, that's where it starts. So.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I'll do it. Okay, I'll do a podcast one. I want to do a very late night screening,
Okay.
like we did with In a Violent Nature. I want to do it like once every couple months.
We need to do that. Yeah, we had talked about it before.
Yeah, and then drive home recording an episode about what we just saw.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do that.
I think we can do that easier. By the way, I'll talk to you. What Alex?
Recording.
This is all like,
yeah.
This is all like stuff we should discuss off here. I think we have a way to do that easier now.
Because there's some movies coming out. I think will make prime late night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. There we go. Those are our
Good.
podcast resolutions.
Perfect.
Yeah. I also want you to make a resolution to finish The Walking Dead.
I'm on episode 10 of the last season.
You've been stuck in that area for
But
quite a
I've
while.
made some progress. I think I'm 2 episodes past where I was the last time we spoke. Maybe even 3.
Yeah.
We're trudging. There's stormtroopers now. I know I'm near the end.
Oh, you're in the Stormtrooper.
Yeah.
Because I remember those guys from the
From
finale.
our episode we did, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So,
I finished season 4. I might jump back in at some point. But
yeah.
I like
Yeah.
season 4. But
Yeah. Yeah.
It is a bit of a commitment.
It's a lot. It's a lot. There's other stuff I want to start watching, but I feel like I can't. I got to finish this.
You've got to do this.
Yeah.
That should be your it doesn't even have New Year's resolution. That could be your rest of the. It could be your 24 resolution. Just knock those bad boys out
I could probably make it happen
in the last few days.
Yes, if I focus. The problem is it's football season.
Yeah.
So I like to watch football, like 2 nights out of the week, I guess. Like tonight, I'm not watching football.
Right.
But like it sucks because like Saturday there's some games on. I want to watch a game on Saturday.
College football playoffs starting too.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching more college football too.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's hard.
You gotta. You might have to embrace the double screen here. The dual.
I think I'm gonna do my first
second
dual
screen.
screen.
Yeah.
Because before you jump into this, Lions are playing the Bears on Sunday at the same time that Philly game's on.
Okay.
So I want to see.
I'm not.
Philly's gonna go on an iPad, I think.
I used to be more of a. As I've gotten older, I've kind of like if you're watching 2 games, you're watching no games. Like, but
I usually just keep the live score.
yeah,
I pin so you can pin them on your phone, which is helpful.
there are times when I'm just like, I need to have a couple.
Yeah.
I need to have a couple going. Yeah.
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
But what's gonna happen is yeah. So anyway, all right. Hey,
All right. No time machine this week, unless you want to find out what the top 10 songs are this year, because I'm sure.
Like right now, no, I won't know any of them. I'm sure.
Let's see. Top 10 songs.
Oh man.
This week. We'll roll through these right here. What's out right now on the Billboard Top 100? We're going to see if we know any of these. Well, the Billboard Hot 100 right now, if I bring it up, is all Christmas songs. So let's just do that.
Okay.
Squabble. Oh, this is not Christmas. Squabble Up by Kendrick Lamar. I know of Kendrick Lamar. A bar song, Tipsy by Shabuzi. I think I know this one. Yeah.
Okay.
I can't sing it. TV Off by Kendrick Lamar. Luther by Kendrick Lamar.
Mm-hmm.
Die with a Smile by Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars. I believe this is a Joker 2 related.
Oh, sure.
Now, here we go. Here are the top 5 because music charts are so insane now.
Okay.
A Holly Jolly Christmas by Burl Ives. I think
Great song. Yeah, great song.
Last Christmas by Wham.
Okay.
Jingle Bell Rock by Bobby Helms. Rockin'
right.
Around the Christmas Tree by Brenda Lee. And the number 1 song, according to Billboard Hot 100 right now, is All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey.
I mean, that's the goat in a lot of people's mind. I'm not a big. I don't like that song very much.
You got a favorite Christmas song?
Yeah. So it's Carol of the Bells, but
Okay.
it's the version from Home Alone. There's a version in Home Alone, like an orchestral version. That's my favorite Christmas jam. It's very intense.
I'm trying to recall that. It's been a long time since I've seen Home Alone.
It's right when like he's in the church. It's the night that they're gonna come.
That is a great
then it's the song that plays during when he's like prepping the house. That dun 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 dun.
That is good.
It's good stuff.
I think mine is probably Darlene Love's "Baby Please Come Home." She used to sing it on.
That's good stuff.
She used to sing that on. She used to sing that on Letterman every year, and I love that. That's probably my favorite. I've grown a soft spot for the Elton John one too.
That's good.
Yeah.
Top 10 movies right now. Weekend gross.
Yeah.
Moana 2.
Oh, yep.
Crushing it. Wicked.
Yep. Oh, this is like the year of Moana 2 and Wicked and what were the other big? There's a couple other big ones. Oh, Deadpool.
That's right.
Yeah.
Kraven the Hunter.
We know some people who saw that.
That's right.
They may be the only people judging that.
They may be. Gladiator 2.
Here's what I like about the Sony, like that Sony Spider-Verse.
It's over.
It's over, and there's some kid out there right now who is like me or maybe even you who's watching those movies, and he will have a really stupid soft spot for it when he's like 40 years old.
I love that.
Yes. Like he will look back on it and he goes, those were kind of like we do with like Daredevil. He'll look back.
Yes. And one day that kid will have one of those kids will have a position somewhere in Hollywood, and there will be a multiverse movie, and they'll bring in like a 48-year-old Aaron Taylor Johnson as Kraven, and somebody in the audience will go, yeah! So, love it.
What was the number? What was after Kraven?
Gladiator 2.
Okay, yeah. I'm not like super into that. I like Gladiator.
I don't need to see a sequel. I'll watch it on streaming.
Ridley has not been lighting my world on fire lately.
What was his last movie?
I appreciate him continue. Oh, you know what? Covenant. Hey, I take it back.
Calm down.
Take it back.
Come on now.
I can't. What was his last movie? It was like it was the Gucci movie. Wasn't he the House of Gucci? Was he the House of Gucci?
Yeah, because he directed like 2 movies that year, and I'm like, how are you doing this?
I appreciate really working as much as he does, and good for him. It's just his stuff.
Napoleon. He did Napoleon with.
I have not seen that. So.
I've not seen that.
Yeah.
He did House of Gucci, Last Duel.
Okay.
Which I heard was pretty cool.
Okay. I guess I haven't watched any of them. So
All the Money in the World. I did not see that, but I heard it was pretty good.
Oh, which one is that?
Christopher Plummer. He replaced Spacey. Remember, like they shot the whole movie. With
Spacey, that's right.
It's about Paul. The kidnapping of. It's like a true story. John Paul Getty.
Okay.
I haven't seen that either. Covenant. I love. The Martian's great.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. Right.
Exodus, Gods and Kings. No, I'm just kidding. That's pretty bad.
Someone will pipe up and go, well, the director's cut of Exodus. Oh, my God. Well, never mind. I'm back on board. Anyway, Gladiator 2 I will watch, actually, for
I'll check
Denzel.
It out. Yeah. I've heard he's great.
He's looked, I forgot about him.
Yeah.
Paul Mescal looks boring as hell, but Denzel, on the other hand.
Yeah. And Pedro Pascal's in it, too, which is nice.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah, I always like Pedro. He's in a lot right now, but I like him.
Mm-hmm.
Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim, which is the animated...
I might check that one, like streaming. I kind of like the animation.
Jackson's involved, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like the animation style, too.
It looks sweet.
Yeah, it does look kind of sweet.
Have you watched Secret Level?
No, I don't have Prime, no.
Dude,
is it good?
It's cool. They're all super short.
I might be reaching out for a Prime password here pretty soon. I've heard good things about Has Been Hotel.
I got one for you.
Okay.
It's super short. The episodes are like 6 minutes, but each one's a different video game franchise. And they're done in different art styles and stuff like that.
Okay.
There's a Mega Man one, and I was like...
Are they affiliated with the actual video game? Oh, okay.
There's a Pac-Man one that's like this weird dystopian future where like they cram somebody's body parts into a yellow orb, and it just has to eat its way through. It's sweet.
That sounds kind of fun.
It's cool, yeah.
That sounds kind of fun.
There's a Dungeons & Dragons one episode, and there's all sorts of cool stuff. Red One.
The movie? Yeah, okay.
The movie that exists.
The movie that like
seems like an AI generated movie.
It will make nothing at the box office, and somehow like it'll be on Amazon, and you'll hear like this is the like people have watched this like this has got 1 billion minutes watched or whatever. You know, like it'll be the biggest hit of all time is all I'm trying to say on Amazon, and like nobody will talk. This is like the Netflix phenomenon where like nobody talks about the movie, and then all of a sudden they come out with like numbers.
What's crushing it?
Yeah. Sorry.
That's funny. Yeah, I think that's basically it.
Is there anything else?
Pushpa, The Rule Part 2.
Okay.
Interstellar.
No. Yeah, a lot of
Is it back on
re-releases.
theaters?
Yeah, re-releases
Okay.
will do like really well nowadays.
Okay. And then the best Christmas pageant ever.
What was the one that I kept popping up in the top 10? Coraline. Coraline kept popping up in the top 10. By the way, I watched Beetlejuice. And
I think we talked about it, right?
oh, I don't know if I had. I just watched it like this past weekend.
What'd you think?
I mentioned Coraline. I popped up in my head. You know what? So people have said like it feels like a movie where they just throw any idea at the wall, and that's very true. But I actually kind of liked that.
Yeah, I've heard it hits all the beats you want it to hit.
It does, and like it feels like Burton is at least engaged again.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of felt like that in Wednesday too, in the episodes he directed.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he has like a good thing with Ortega going. She fits really well with him.
Yeah.
She does have similarities to Depp in some ways, I think, too.
And Winona Ryder, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I liked a lot of that stuff. Keaton's fantastic as always. You know what? It was better than I expected.
Okay.
And
Good.
I had fun.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
All right. It's time.
We're going to talk about a clown.
Get ready to be terrified by art.
Where do you want to start with this?
Man, so let's just do general thoughts. So
Yes.
I think I've mentioned before, I didn't love Terrifier 1 the first time I saw it. I didn't understand why people were so gaga over it. I thought that I understood like the kills are gnarly and stuff, but like I've seen a lot of stuff. I'm not trying to like act like I've seen all the stuff because I haven't. I'm way out of the loop on a lot of like indie horror stuff, but I've seen a lot of things that were just as extreme as what I saw in Terrifier. Not that I wasn't impressed by it from a practical effects standpoint. But I've seen a lot of that stuff, and I went like, okay, like yeah, it's pretty gnarly, but like I've seen Bone Tomahawk, like it's not that, like
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
But what I didn't do at the time was really appreciate that Art the Clown performance from David Howard Thornton. I don't know why, I just didn't really. I didn't take enough time to watch that performance and really appreciate what he was doing with it, and I saw the second. Kind of at your behest. You're like, you should check this out because it's pretty weird, like in a good way. And I finally kind of like went, okay, I'm going to do it. I'll watch it. And I watched it, and I was like, God damn, this is pretty sweet. It's a movie that's too long. It's a movie that's really ambitious, though, so I kind of love it, even though it's too long. And it just does some crazy stuff and takes Terrifier and Art the Clown and all that in directions I would not have guessed it would have gone, and I appreciate Damien Leone for that because like he could have just made Terrifier 2 be basically the first movie again, and it's not that at all. It's doing its own thing. And now we have Terrifier 3, and so now I'm on board. Like I understand these movies now. I still don't love the first movie. I think I admire the performance, and I think the effects are really great. The movie itself, But after really liking that second movie...
Is Terrifier the one... Sorry, is that one where it like kind of switches protagonists halfway through, right?
Not even halfway through, like 3/4, maybe.
Okay. That's the one it's not that fresh in my head. That's why I ask. So,
and the whole movie's basically like takes place on one or two blocks in like Toronto.
Right.
And like a warehouse. That's like the whole movie. Like characters just kind of show up and then get killed, and then another character shows up and gets killed. It's very by the numbers slasher for me. The kills are great,
right?
But it's very by the numbers. So yeah, going to 3, I had certainly higher expectations, and it mostly met my expectations. I think it's taking it's furthering the mythology in some ways that are more or less kind of expected. I mean, they don't really. They're not overly concerned with the mythology, but there's enough in there to keep you kind of interested in what the lore behind Art and the little pale girl and Sienna's father and all this. Like Jason Patrick, by the way. What?
You know what? The first time I watched it,
recognize him.
I did not recognize him,
no.
And then I read like I was reading about the movie. And it said Jason Patrick. And I go, wait, who the hell was he? And then I threw it on today to kind of refresh my memory. And I go, oh, shit, that's Jason Patrick.
It took me a minute. Yeah. I haven't seen him in a while. So.
Yeah.
But I thought I did a good job of furthering some of that stuff. And I like that stuff. I like that crazy kind of supernatural element they've made a part of this franchise. I like the Sienna character. I like that we're following her again. I like that we're not just pivoting to some other final girl. That's nice.
Yep.
I enjoy the continuity that we have here. I I think the kills are great, but that's kind of I wasn't expecting anything less. It's the nastiest movie of the three, actually.
I think throughout, consistently throughout.
Yes.
I think 2 has one scene in particular I'm thinking of that is nastier. But
there's a kill in 2 that will
Yeah.
that trumps anything that's in this movie. In
I
my
think so
opinion.
too. Yeah.
But
But even that's like such a cartoon.
it's insanity.
Yes.
Yeah. But this one kind of starts off really nasty and just keeps going all the way throughout. So props for that. Yeah, and this is art, and I think there's benefits and drawbacks to this. But this is art at its funniest and its most playful, and I like that. We have not lost the fact. My favorite things about art are when he's kind of doing his goofy mime stuff and he's like reacting to things without verbalizing anything. Love that stuff. But what didn't happen quite as often in the second movie that was prevalent in that first was something will happen, somebody will say something, or like he'll witness something, and he just all of a sudden just stares like dead.
Yeah.
That stuff freaks me out with him because
Yes.
you forget, like, it's almost like you get so caught up in his antics that you're like, oh, he's so funny, and then like you forget, like, oh no, he's scary, or supposed to be scary. I liked that we went back to that in certain scenes in this movie. I will say, however, it's not quite enough for me. And the reason why I say that is we're in danger now, even though art's doing some of the most disgusting, despicable crap you could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
It's so disgusting and despicable that you have to like chuckle at it or just not watch the movie, right? Those are your two options. But he's almost reaching in this one like Silly Freddy levels for me. We're getting close.
There's one moment, we'll talk about when we get it, because we're going to do the character by character thing.
Yes.
There's one moment in particular I'm thinking of where I went, oh, that's not a good choice.
Okay.
All right. We'll get to it.
It's not the Snow Angel, right?
It's before the Snow Angel.
Okay.
It's during that scene. Yeah. It's the song. It is not so much.
It's a lot.
It's a move by a director who can't let go of the indie side of him. You know what I mean? We'll talk to it when we get there.
Anyway,
we'll go.
So there's some danger there, and I hope we dial that back a little bit with another one. Try and get back to maybe a little bit more of art should be art for sure, but we're getting a little silly at times for me. We can't forget that ultimately this should be a horror film, so there's a little bit of that in this movie. But no, I think all in all, like, it's tough for me. I before we recorded, I said, like, I don't think I can really rank them. I know that the first is my least favorite of the three after having watched all three. 2 and 3 are kind of neck and neck for me right now. I think they both got their benefits and drawbacks. Right now, I think 2 is slightly above 3 for me, but if, with a rewatch of 3, it could change.
Okay.
So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I enjoyed this movie quite a bit. I don't suggest these movies for everybody. Even for every horror fan, I just don't. I mean, most of you listening have either seen these or you kind of have heard of what they are, at least, I think. Just, they're very gory and mean.
Yes.
Like, the death scenes are mean.
This became this year, too, kind of like last a couple months ago when it came out. It became kind of like a mini phenomenon in some ways, too. So I think
it blew up.
It broke contain. Like, you know what I mean? It broke out from...
2 started it.
What our listeners, it broke out from our listeners, and like I started seeing like my wife follows a Disney vlogger, and all of a sudden she was like talking about this, and she and like I remember going like, oh, this has reached like that type of person now. I don't mean that in a disparaging way, but it's reached a different audience now.
It's outside of the niche audience now. Like people are like wearing Terrifier shirts and stuff. Like that's crazy. But also kind of sweet. So, look, if art is the new, slasher icon, I'm totally okay with that at this point.
Yeah.
I'm A-okay with it. It was time for a new one, so I like it.
All right.
What did you think?
So,
overall,
we watched, it just popped in my head, we did a Terrifier face-off, I think, last year, where we talked about 1 and 2. We did kind of which one, and 2 obviously won, but I don't remember my thoughts exactly from that but I go right now after a couple watches. Actually, I watched it again today. I had it on and was refreshing my memory. But I go 2, 3, 1 for me. With 1, I remember there's a phrase I like, and I use it to go like beer and pizza horror. Where you sit down.
Yep.
It's late on a Friday night. You have a beer. You eat a little bit of leftover pizza.
Yep.
And that for me is part 1. I remember liking it and appreciating it on that level. Like you mentioned, the effects I think worked for me. And I like, you're right. There are a lot of indie horror movies like that. And it was weird. I didn't see anything special in that movie outside of art. I did get why art started to catch on. And a lot of it is like the clown stuff, but and like you mentioned, a lot of the performances too. 2, I was very taken about. Like I remember being kind of blown away by it, and part of it was because it did step beyond like the boundaries of good taste, and I like when a movie does that. It does that, but I also I'm going to give this person credit real quick. It was an article on Bloody Disgusting from Brian Kuiper. It's called "The Beast and the Angel: The Surprising Biblical Imagery of Terrifier 2." And I'm gonna Google that article. I'm probably gonna refer back to it, but or it's stuff I read in that article because I think that is what kind of hit me. And I went to Catholic school as a kid, and a lot of this imagery and the iconography of these movies it feels like it's taken straight from that.
There is, yeah.
And I remember thinking
has anybody mentioned does anybody know about his religious background, Damien Leone's? Is that
he may have talked about it in interviews.
Okay. I'm not sure. Yeah,
I feel but I feel like he may he definitely has a familiarity with this stuff because a lot of this stuff is taken straight from the Flaming Sword and stuff is straight from the Bible.
Yes.
So and art is essentially a force of evil.
Mm-hmm.
And that stuff was in 2. But what I grasped onto in 2 is just kind of that shock value stuff because I was actually shocked by some of the stuff in it, and that's rare with me these days.
It is.
But it did feel like shock value with a purpose in a lot of ways, and even stuff like the Clown Cafe in that movie, it goes on way too long, but I kind of loved it for that. I kind of love self-indulgence sometimes, and it did have a point to it. And it wasn't just because it was her test, it was her test to get into to be proven worthy, her lifting of. Yeah,
there's a purpose.
Yes, there's a purpose to it. It's just it goes on forever. But I appreciated the indulgence. I'll say that
I liken it a little bit to Mandy.
Yeah.
Mandy. So it's got a similar vibe to that movie. I like the movie Mandy. But everybody always talks about the Cheddar Goblin.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Cheddar Goblin, but that doesn't really serve a purpose in the movie, really.
Right.
Beyond just being an insane moment.
Right.
Clown Cafe at least has this there's more to the. There's a lot behind what's going on in that sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy and nuts and funny, but yeah.
And I think with 2 at the time, I needed something like Terrifier 2. For whatever reason, it felt like a release in a lot of ways. I felt like it was a movie I would have loved as a teenager. And that kind of hit for me. This movie I liked, but I'll say this: I feel like he is. You've just watched it. I feel like he's grown as a filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
The thing with him is, I still feel like he hasn't fully figured it out on maybe a script level and maybe a screenwriting level. I feel like he still can't edit himself. And I feel like that would have helped this movie for me because I was actually, for the first time with these movies, kind of frustrated. Because I actually do think it has started to have something to say. And it has started to have something to say. I think there's a reason why, and when we talk about art, I think there's a reason why he's caught on in this day and age. And a lot of it is because of the chaos he causes and how that relates to what we all go through every day. But I feel like he's very close to figuring out, but he feels right now, the thing with him is, and I mentioned it, I don't know how to, I'm not trying to be insulting here. He's not an overwhelmingly talented filmmaker.
He's not, so he makes very, very, he's a very competent filmmaker and he does a great job of shooting what he's shooting, but he's not he's not overly ambitious in terms of his actual filmmaking. When I when I watch that, it's not like when you watch those early, even Carpenter or James Wan as a recent example. Sure. You watch those first movies, or even something like Halloween that's a couple years into his career, and you go oh,
yeah, this guy is.
Well, that's the whole, like, people say visionary, right?
Yes.
He's not, like, Damien Leone at this point in time, I would not call him a visionary filmmaker.
Yes.
I'd call him a very, like, he knows what he wants from a movie, for sure.
Right.
So in that way, he has a vision, certainly, but he's not...
There was something frustrating about this to me, because, like, I can see, like, the signs of a guy who's almost putting it all together. It's like a rookie hitter who, or like a baseball player who still can't hit the curveball. You know what I mean? He's young, and like
Sure.
you're like, if he can just figure that out, he's dangerous. But like, he's just like, there are a couple moments in this movie where I went, why did you do that?
There were some missteps for you that creatively.
The Jonathan subplot is a big one for me. The Jonathan subplot and the true crime obsessed.
Well, let's. Did you want to do a character by character?
Yeah, I'll leave it off with this.
Stuff.
I'll leave it off with this. Yeah. No, I think I left it off. Or let's go character by character.
Yeah. So let's start with that. Let's start with Jonathan.
I
know it's not like the obvious choice, but let's start with it because we're talking about it, right?
He was a big part of 2, though.
Big part of 2, I thought was a really solid character. I like the performance. I like the kid. He feels genuine because he's on the younger side anyway. I don't know how old the kid is, but he feels, of age. The relationship with him and his big sister felt real to me, and I really liked that in Terrifier 2.
Yes. And you know what I like about that relationship, and what I like about Jonathan, too, is there is that sense of, like, him being almost like an audience surrogate, in that, like, he's drawn to art. Like, he's drawn to the killer. But like as an audience member, you're kind of like, oh, come on, bud, don't do that. You can see his better and his worst angels like fighting on his shoulders, and I kind of dug that about the character. Anyway, that I wanted to point that out on too.
So talk to me about, like, what is it in this movie where not the performance necessarily, I don't think.
No,
like,
no, it's fine.
Where does the Jonathan stuff and the college stuff lose you? What is the?
It's not even so much.
Make the podcasters part of this conversation as well, because they're barely characters. So.
So that is Mia and Cole.
Yeah.
So with Jonathan, there is some stuff I like about him. I like the strain of them. Has like them being apart for 5 years, and this movie has kind of caused a strain on his and Sienna's relationship. All of the character changes with him though are off screen, and I understand that because it's been 5 years. Some of it doesn't ring true for me. I also don't like where we leave him because he might be dead, but we don't know because it's essentially Victoria she's the devil essentially. She's
or a demon of
some sort that is the puppeteer behind
She's
art.
the little girl in the second one.
She's the little girl.
She's possessed by the little
yes,
girl.
she's transferred over to Victoria, who
I love in this movie, by the way. Victoria's
makeup is fantastic.
Such a cool addition.
Yeah,
and she picks up the scary and the uneasiness that I get from art in the first 2 movies.
Yes.
That's lacking a little bit in this one. She picks that up because every time she's on screen, I feel very uncomfortable.
Yes.
Masturbating with glass shards is part of it. But.
So, and I feel bad because I like Jonathan, and I like the kid that plays him. I just could not find a reason to care about his subplot, and I also am to the point with, and this will go into Mia and Cole for me. I'm to the point where I just do not give a shit about true crime or critiquing true crime or people being obsessed with true crime. I don't find it interesting at this point. Like, I kind of roll my eyes when it did it. And all of it felt completely separate to what was going on in the main plot back with Sienna and the family there and Art. That stuff all feels connected. This stuff feels outside. They try to tie it into Sienna and her trauma and everything. And she goes to visit him one time at college.
They only have one scene together.
They only have one scene. And that's the other thing. It felt like, to me, it felt more like they could not get these 2 actors' schedules to sync. It was distracting to me more than anything. I felt like this movie was 15 minutes too long, and those 15 minutes were all due to that subplot.
So, if they had either not had the Jonathan character in the movie at all, and they had kind of like had a line about like, oh, he's off at college, and just left it at that, you would have been cool with that though. Like, or like maybe a phone call between the 2 briefly. He has a cameo essentially, and that's like the end of it. That would have maybe made the.
I think a cameo would have worked. I think even a line of dialogue, because it has been 5 years, would have worked. And I feel bad because I like the actor, but I also think they've left it open to where he can come back. I'm not necessarily sure he's dead at the end of
They don't really confirm it. And I'm sure that's by design. I do agree with you on this stuff.
Yeah.
I really do. It didn't bother me maybe quite as much as it bothered. Not that it bothered you, but like it didn't. I didn't really think about it as a negative all that much until we started talking about it. But I mean, I get that. It does feel very disassociated from everything else going on, and not in a great way.
Yeah.
It feels like its own little mini movie, and I have to wonder if maybe there was certainly a script written around Sienna's character and evolving that, who she is and who she's becoming, and the war, like what the battle between good and evil and all that. I have to wonder if maybe Damien Leone was like, I don't really know what to do with the brother.
And he has to do something.
I feel like I got to do something because
Yes.
I like the actor and I like the character enough, and this is kind of like shoehorned in.
Yeah.
So
And that's kind of what I meant by like he can't let go of that sensibility, like that indie sensibility is like I got to bring everybody back. I like these people. I felt like
I get that.
You could bring him back later.
I don't disagree.
Make mention to him, but I do want to mention now. Me and Cole, we've talked about. I wanted to talk about the shower scene real quick.
The shower scene, it's a doozy.
It is a doozy. What did you think of it? I'll ask you first.
It's very gory. It's prolonged. It's very art.
Yes.
It is what it is. It's disgusting and it goes on for a long time and it's mean and it's nasty and there's a lot of genital mutilation, which is pretty standard for him.
We get to see it's all of it, right? Yeah, we get to see.
Yes. I think female breasts get chainsawed, and male testicles and the whole nine get chainsawed. I mean, it's very graphic. This is meant to be the big hurrah, the big showpiece, right? The centerpiece of violence for the movie.
Yes.
It certainly fits the bill for that. I guess your mileage might vary on how you feel about the director's desire to have to do that, to have that scene. That he wants to be talked about, because that's clearly what the scene is. This is the one that he wants the internet to be losing its mind over, so that people want to go see the movie, right? I mean,
so I guess my thing is it feels a little too obvious that that's what he's going for me.
No, it is obvious,
and I don't think he needed that here. And what I mean is like this movie's plenty violent enough.
Sure.
And I don't think this is the thing that sent the bedroom scene in part 2 is the one I'm thinking of. It's over the top is when Art leaves
and comes back,
and then he comes back. I remember like losing it at that point.
Well, there's that. So there's that. I'm gonna bastardize this here, but like there's that whole bit about. Well, there's a bit about how comedy and horror are very similar, right? They both have punchlines. But there's a bit with comedy where it's like if there's a certain if you keep a joke going or you repeat a joke a certain number of times, it gets annoying and then it gets funny, like even funnier than it was.
It's the Team America puking scene.
Yes, because you're like, okay, all right, and then it keeps happening, and now it's funnier than it was to begin with.
Yes,
that's that kill scene because it just keeps happening.
Yes,
yeah, like after a little while, you're like, oh God, just can we move on? And then you're like, okay, it's over, and then he comes back in the room. And it's funnier.
Yes. And I think the thing with this one is it's mean and it's gnarly. I don't think it's that much worse than a lot of what happens in the rest of the movie. Actually, I think there's a kill later that is way nastier.
Okay.
The rat kill is what I'm talking about. I think that's the gnarliest kill in the movie for me.
Did you read about David Howard Thornton with the rat kill? Yes. That's the one kill where he had a hard time.
He had a hard time with it?
Yeah.
I told you, it's a Carter Verone tribute from Too Fast.
Yeah. Love it.
Anyway. That is the other misstep. That scene is the other. So it ends with the snow angel. We mentioned that. The
snow angel's really funny.
It's really funny, but that is a credit to, I'm sure, David Howard Thornton and probably Damien Leone working
Very
together.
Funny. Yes, that's a good punchline.
There is a song in this during this part of the movie that's about Art being like Santa. Like it's a Christmas Art song.
It's like a jingle.
It's like a jingle, and it plays over the end of this kill, and that's what I was talking about when I went with like. That's another part. Most of like I'm struggling with the indie-rific stuff that I kind of wish he would have left a little bit in the past in this movie.
Yeah.
That's where I think it comes back to hurt it a little, because I sat there going like, this is too silly right now.
Do you think if and this is another thing with them kind of leaning into an area, it's not just about Art's humor for me, where I worry about them losing the horror. It's about we're now creating characters in these movies, in the Terrifier franchise, that are so unlikable that you're now like rooting for the worst things to happen to
That's
them.
a good point. I did not like Mia at all.
No, we haven't hit that part in this franchise yet.
No, because that was another thing that hit me with like the main group of characters. I'm like, oh, I like all these people.
Like the bedroom kill, that girl's like the nicest character in the whole movie, and then like she's like the worst death possible. So,
and I think
I think that's part of like us losing the horror a little bit. Is like we're kind of like, yeah, get him, Art. You know,
the other fine line you have to walk with a character like Art, and it was the same thing with a character like Freddy is. Art can be funny, Freddy can be funny, but you can't make a joke of these characters.
Yes, they've not done that yet.
And that song, playing that song, felt the closest I have felt to that, like going like, oh, this is like the Fat Boys rap.
There's a tinge of that. Yeah. So if they had played that over like the credits, you would have been like,
when they played it the credits, it's fine.
Cool.
Yeah. But when they played it in the movie,
I get that.
my brain separates a lot of the time the credits from the rest of the movie.
Sure.
Okay. But when they played it during the movie, I went, this is like goofy, like Santa's sleigh level stuff.
Now we're getting to
and it doesn't fit with the rest of the movie. So
fair.
So sorry, we started with the negative stuff. Any more about those three characters you want to talk about?
No. Okay. I mean, you know.
Oh, Cole, we didn't mention. He's kind of funny.
He's kind of silly.
He's got a sex.
His hair is hilarious.
His hair is hilarious.
It's very good.
You want to save Sienna and Art for last?
Sure.
Who do you want to go with next?
Well, we touched on Victoria.
Let's talk a little bit more about Victoria.
I mean, look, it's cool that they were able to. Obviously, they like hinted at it in the first movie, especially towards the end, bringing her back in a very different role than what her. She's only in that first movie for like 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. She's the second final girl after her sister's killed, and she's barely in it really. Beyond that kind of last, like I said, 20, 30 minutes.
Right.
And they really had no reason to like bring her back, the character or the actress, and here they did it. So, you know, props to them for finding a way to incorporate that first movie, because it is different than these second couple of movies. She's like I mentioned earlier. She's the performance is really good. It's unnerving. She adds a lot to this. I think it was very important to have Art have a counterpoint. I mean, the second movie we got the pal girl. She's present, but she's not like most people don't see her. This was a nice choice, I think, creatively to give not just the pale girl a voice, but to give Art a voice in a lot of ways, without having him speak. I think was very smart.
I like the evolution of the demon or the entity or the devil or whatever we want to call.
Yeah.
Going like okay, I'll possess a little girl. This is easier. Art has got me this vessel, this little girl.
Right.
And then they get beaten too, and then it almost feels like the devil goes, okay, I got to level up here and go with Victoria.
Does Art kill a little kid in the second movie for her to possess, or does she just start showing?
She just, if I remember, he just kind of like. I don't remember.
I didn't catch that, but it seemed like it was like one of Art's victims that she was possessing.
Right.
Okay. All right, I missed that part. Some of the lore stuff I get a little bit hazy on.
It's unfortunate too, because I'm reading the Terrifier 2 novelization and I still can't recall. But the novelization, by the way, I recommend it. Is it
cool? Did you do a three yet or no?
Not yet. This one 2 just came out, but it does a good job. One? I don't know. I know they've done 2. I've only known 2. I would recommend it. I think the guy who wrote it does a good job, kind of filling in the blanks a little bit with the lore.
Okay.
But I just can't recall if it happens in 2 or if it happens off screen with the little girl. Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, Victoria is really, really cool, really good in this. The performance is great. The effect, the makeup effects are fantastic.
Did I read that this was the makeup effect person, who did the makeup? Some of the makeup for Dark Knight.
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He saw his work.
Did Heath Ledger's?
Yeah.
He liked the Terrifier, the Terrifier movie so much that he was like, I want to
do
work on this one.
Yep.
Yeah, it's fantastic work. I mean, she looks flawless. Victoria adds a lot to this movie. I really like her.
I missed it. Did you like the masturbating scene?
Yes, I did.
Me too. And not like in a but
not in a weird boner way. No, I liked it. I liked it.
I liked how messed up it was.
It worked for me because it told you the dynamic between these two.
Visually and like physically, yeah.
Yeah, in the most effed up way possible, but yeah, it worked. I liked that scene quite a bit, actually. And I like their interactions together. You never get a full understanding of what their dynamic is, but you kind of do. It's weird. Like it's
a
not
little
a romantic
Freddy and
thing.
Jason.
Yeah, it's interesting because like there's moments when Art almost seems a little bit annoyed that he has to like pal around with somebody. There's like a couple moments in the movie, but then like he's also kind of, I don't know. It's very interesting. It's a strange.
She's like his. So from what I get, like the demon is like the puppet master behind Art, and Art is going around causing as much chaos and panic and torture and.
Yeah, so Art was a serial killer in the first movie. He was
yes,
just a regular like human serial killer that could die and did die, and then I guess a demon can attach itself to somebody that was like pure evil or whatever.
Right.
So, works for me. That's fine.
That's fine.
Enough. And that's why he can keep coming back from the dead. Now the question is, I assume the demon is not dead.
At the end of this movie,
the body of Victoria is gone.
Right. The demon.
The demon's alive.
Yes, and its goal is essentially to latch itself to Sienna.
I'd imagine we're going to hell in the next movie, right?
Seems what it's set up, and I'll be honest with you, with the money they've made, he's done a great job of keeping these things at a low budget.
Down.
Yeah, like I think he can do like a pretty. I'm hoping he does go all out a little bit there, and I kind of trust that he will, because it seems like so. I do, yeah. With the Victoria, you mentioned the makeup. We touched a little bit on the biblical stuff. I will say. This is not an issue I have with the movie. It's an issue that I have with some of the discussion surrounding the movies. Is like there is some interesting stuff, but I do think it gets obscured by just the extreme violence.
Sure.
I do think he's trying to say some things about like.
Yeah, I mean he's not doing like Romero social.
No.
He is. There's definitely like a subtext here about. Religion and that religious iconography, and
he's thought about the lore. He's thought about the story, and I think a lot of that comes to the forefront here. And I think it's good. I think it's some of the strongest stuff in the movie.
And there's a little bit of a meta element to this one too that is non-existent in the other ones of the celebration of art as an icon in horror now.
Yeah,
there's the moment, of course, where they're on the subway, and there's a guy dressed up as art, and they kind of interact and react to him a little bit. And kill him, of course. He gets killed off screen, though. Note that.
Yes.
They treat him with respect, despite the fact that... but there's a little bit of an element there, too, I think, in terms of, like, commenting on... and you touched on it a little bit, like, we're living in very chaotic times.
Mm-hmm.
Art is very much like the ultimate agent of chaos. He does the most insane stuff possible, right? And there's, like, a certain element of... being disgusted by the chaos, but also kind of celebrating it because it's fun to watch, especially in these trying times.
Yes.
So there's some stuff going on there too.
There is.
Yeah. I think.
I want to touch it. Yeah. I've got some stuff to say with Art.
Yes.
The one thing I kind of loved the part where Art and Victoria just kind of sit for a while.
They like rejuvenate. Yeah.
Yes, they just kind of like hibernate for years essentially, or like a long period of time. Yeah. He's got cobwebs on her. She's covered in shit.
So freaky.
I really like that. They are idiots for falling for the Christmas present gag at the end, but the
hubris. It's the hubris.
You know what? That's what I was gonna say. They're tied. I am okay with bad guys being stupid. I don't like when my good guys are stupid.
Agreed. So I'm okay with this because, like, look, it's a demon.
Yep.
Probably doesn't spend a lot of time on Earth, right?
Right.
You know, and is very cocky. If nothing else, a demon would be arrogant, right? At the least.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially in the position that they have got.
Yeah, like we're good to go.
Yeah.
Yes, I get it.
Anything else on Victoria?
No, I think I'm good.
Let's talk about. You know what? Let's talk about it. The aunt and the uncle. I guess is it Greg and Jessica? Is that the main couple that Sienna moves in with? I think it's Jessica. I know it's Greg.
Greg. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so Greg is. I actually really like Greg. He's got big he's got big Hallmark leading man energy to me, which I think actually works really well in this setting. There's not a lot of depth to his character. The actor was in a Bobcat Goldthwait movie called Willow Creek from about a decade ago now. He's like the lead in that, if I recall correctly.
Oh, man.
It's called Willow Creek. Yeah, his defining characteristic in this one is like he's really big into cereal. Like he can't believe
that's right.
Yeah,
that's
like
right.
he can't believe Sienna doesn't.
He's
like cereal.
really passionate about the cereal.
He's very passionate about the cereal.
Yeah.
But I like him. I think you need a kind of square in these movies, like a likable square, and I think he fits the bill in this movie.
Yes.
And then
yeah, he gets a pretty gnarly off-screen death.
Off-screen death, yeah. And then Jessica, I believe her name is. She was just kind of there. She's like her mom's sister. I do like, there's a scene between Sienna and her at the dinner table where they give a little bit of depth to the mom character. They talk about like how she cussed like a sailor. It's kind of a sweet scene between the two. I like that. And it goes along with...
It redeems the mom a little bit too.
Yes.
She was a nightmare in that second movie.
Yep.
Oh my God.
And it goes along with what we've been saying about like these characters in these movies. Like you kind of like these people.
Yeah.
Like they're normal.
They do feel genuine. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
She, though, is the rat death. I wanted to talk about
It's gnarly, yeah. They hammer a tube down her throat, and then he sticks a rat down the tube and like heats up the tube. This is a classic like medieval torture thing, essentially. It's different, I guess, than like, but the idea being the heat makes the rat flee from the flame and basically chew its way through any sort of exit it can. This is real. Like this.
Yeah.
This happens.
Yes.
I mean, this doesn't happen. I hope. But like a rat would do this.
Yes.
Yes.
And there is a shot, and it's an incredible. To me, it was an incredible shot where they slit the throat, and then the rat just kind of falls out of the throat
they
slit.
drip out. They, like,
it is so fucked up.
I have to assume that's what got David Howard Thornton.
That's what got me. I went like, oh my God.
Yeah. It's like plopping out. Still alive too. Good gravy.
But you know what? You gotta respect it.
Respect the hustle.
The last character before we get to Sienna art that I wanted to mention is Gabby.
Yeah, Gabby's good. Yeah, I like Gabby. Kids. Here's what I'll say: kids in movies like this sometimes can come off as either you can go one of two ways: either too damn stupid or too damn smart.
Yeah,
you have to find a middle ground. I don't like kids in horror movies who know everything. They're like magic kids, basically, and they somehow like figure everything out. But I also don't like kids in horror movies that are just brain dead, because kids are neither. Kids are not overly gifted most of the time, and they're not complete idiots all the time. Like, they're somewhere in between, right? And she fits that bill in a really good way, and she works really well. I think plays really well off of her parents in the film, Sienna in the film, and I like that she has agency of her own.
Yeah,
she helps foil the villains without feeling smarter than the villains necessarily.
Right.
But no, I really like the Gabby, and she's a heck of a little performer too. So, I mean, I assume she'll be back for the next one, and that's cool. Like, I like the dynamic there. So
you kind of mentioned she's the kind of kid actor I like, where she's not too good, where she doesn't feel.
She feels like a kid.
She feels like a kid acting. She feels like a kid in a movie. Yeah, and I've always liked that more.
She's not always looking at the camera and smiling.
Yes.
At the end of a take. Yeah.
Yeah. I've always like sometimes like a child actor who's too good. Like, kind of freaks me out for whatever reason.
They feel like a little robot.
Yeah, yes. So I like Gabby. For a while there, I did not care about her reading the whole journal thing, and then they tied it up nicely, so I didn't mind that.
Yeah, it was good.
Sienna or Art next? Who you want next?
Oh boy, let's go Sienna, and then we got to end it with Art.
End it with Art. Well, I wanted to end it with a couple other characters. So we had some cameos in this movie that I want to talk about before.
Oh boy, okay, we'll do those last.
Yeah, Sienna.
Sienna's great. I think that Lauren Lavera.
Yeah.
I would like to see her in more, because I think she's very good.
Me too.
I think she's. I don't want this to sound. She's better than these movies. Like that.
So when you were mentioning,
sounds bad, I know, but like
when
she could do more than just be a scream queen. I think. Not that I don't have respect for. I hope that doesn't come off as like I could see her doing other. Yeah.
When you were talking about part one, and you mentioned how like you didn't really get it with but like you mentioned how Art and the performance of David Howard Thornton, like that, you could see how that like latched on me too. And then I think with this one and 2, like the thing that took this to like the next level for me and where I go, oh, I really like this movie is her.
Yeah.
I think she's really good in these movies.
Very good. She plays well against everybody else in the film. She feels like, and you know what? She is, once again, we have a male director, male writer. When you're writing as a man, I think sometimes it's very easy to write heroines as either overly kind of wimpy and emotional about things, because that's how women are, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole, I'm using air quotes, by the way. That's how, oh yeah, girls cry. I don't know. I don't get it. But, or it can go the opposite to almost overcompensate as a writer and make them so like emotionless and cold and like robotic.
Mm-hmm.
I always think about early slasher films with regard to a lot of the final girls tend to be very, even not the final girls, but just female characters in those films tend to be very weepy and like unable to do anything to help themselves.
Go back to like not Halloween, but some of those Jamie Lee Curtis. Like Jamie Lee Curtis is a very talented human being, and like some of those, like even like Prom Night is the one that I'm thinking of. Like she's like a nothing in that movie.
There's nothing going on. Yeah,
and so that's not her.
There's a lot of those in those early horror films. Barbara and The Living Dead. I mean, she's worthless. But there's the opposite end where like you get like Mila Jovovich in the Resident Evil movies where like I don't like, there's no character there. It's just pure like ass kicking. That's not a strong heroine to me. A strong heroine is and a strong hero for that matter is somebody like a Sigourney Weaver or like a Jamie Lee in Halloween, like can kick ass and defend themselves and fight and be strong because they are strong inside, but also is real and like has real emotions and does get scared, but despite that, like fights.
Sydney and Scream.
I think those are perfect examples of that, of males writing strong female characters.
He's done a good job.
It's hard to do. I think
modeling her after the good final girls. I think
I would agree. Yeah. So props to him for that, and her performance just elevates it, I think.
Yeah, I was a little worried early on with like the flashback stuff because it felt like trauma with a capital T, and I'm kind of to the point with stories about trauma where I know I've talked about this before. I'm like, yeah, we know, like everybody has trauma.
Sure, I got you.
Like we don't need to. We don't like. Yes, every movie ever
is exploring
trauma of some sort. But she sells it, and she actually gets to do a little bit of acting in this one. Not that she didn't in the second one, but like she has.
She has to stretch a bit more.
She shows some anger. She shows some emotion.
And she lives up to all of it, in my opinion.
She's also put through the ringer in this one.
Oh yeah.
And I think more than the second one. There is like that the part in the second one that actually looking back on it is kind of sad, where she decides to like skirt responsibility for one night and go out and be a kid and party and drink and all that stuff. And then, like, that's kind of the end for her. Like, now she has this big kind of silly, like, but prophecy to fulfill or whatever, this responsibility.
Yeah. Her youth is gone at this point.
But she's put through. It felt a little bit like, I think maybe as far as Final Girls go, maybe the most. Since like it reminded me of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, where she comes out just like screaming in agony because of all she's put through by that point.
Sure.
They're pretty on the nose. So the Christ allegory and the Savior allegory gets a little on the nose with the crown.
It does. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, sometimes you just gotta go there. I think.
The visions, they annoyed me, but like at least the Brooke one is kind of funny, where Brooke shows up and is kind of sassy at the table
because it feels like her character.
Yes. Yeah. What else did I have on her? I like the flashback with her father, Jason Patrick. Mm-hmm. I like that stuff. I like that she gives him the idea to make a stronger character than what he's doing at the time.
If they bring him back for anything in the next movie, which I would hope they would, I hope that she gets to act opposite him as well. Yeah. That we get like an adult Sienna interacting with her dad. Yes. Cool. Yeah.
And I like that. It also felt like a fun critique of superhero comics because he's just drawing like.
That's true.
Yeah. And I thought the final battle was satisfactory enough that it didn't bother me that they ended on a cliffhanger. Essentially,
That's fine.
It was a good, like it was nasty
I
enough.
didn't expect it, but
it was good. So we've talked about her. I think she's great.
She's fantastic. Yeah.
Yep. And let's talk about Art.
I mean, Art's man, like he's the linchpin of this franchise, right? Like, I mean, like, look, there's a lot to like about these movies, but in this movie, I think it solidifies the fact that David Howard Thornton has created a character that I think is has become kind of iconic in its own right and deserves that place. I think we've seen horror franchises get close to that with certain characters, like get close to that level of their character being like this new big kind of like the next big horror phase. I think Skarsgård's Pennywise is the closest we've got.
Yeah.
Before this, and with these last couple Terrifier movies, like I think it's earned now. I think that Art is definitely kind of in the pantheon at this point, and I think that's by and large the person who deserves the most credit for that is David Howard Thornton, in my opinion, because he just. I recognize actually other actors have played Art technically, but like nobody else could play this character this way. Like he is Art the Clown, and it's very much, he's funny, he's scary, he can tap into whatever's needed in the moment, and he makes it work. Yeah. And he does it all without speaking a word. Or making a sound. It's very impressive stuff. I think he's really talented. He reminds me of Doug Jones.
That's good
in what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a huge compliment as far as I'm concerned. Immensely talented. Art's awesome. He's got a great look. He's got a great sense of humor. He's a nasty fellow. Yeah. I mentioned he's a little too funny at moments in this movie for me. Just I wish they would, or if he was going to get super funny, then like make sure you counterbalance it with that those moments of kind of like, oh shit, now the funny's gone now. So maybe a little bit more of the non-funny here and there would have been nice, but I thought it was once again another strong.
Yeah. So yeah. Definitely agree with you. You can see like the elements of like Chaplin and Buster Keaton in his performance.
Oh, yeah. Huge.
A lot of this movie, and I've been trying to think about why Art has caught on the way he has, besides just the look, because I think the look is a big part of it, and the performance.
Yeah.
Part of it we've talked about a little bit though too is like, so think back to Halloween. What's scary about Halloween is you're in this suburban setting. It's supposed to be safe.
Yep.
It's supposed to be like middle class America, and then in comes this force that is Michael's not really chaos, but there's no rhyme or reason to what he's doing in that first.
He's not chaos in the same sense as Art. Right?
Yes,
like so he's not loud and boisterous. Well, Art's not loud, but you know what I mean. Like he's not, but he represents chaos from the outside.
There's an order to suburban life that is interrupted by Michael Myers and his actions.
He represents danger from the outside
and the evil. And that's what always made that movie so scary.
Yep.
We are now almost 50 years past that, and it's gotten to the point now in real life, in a lot of ways, like we've met, like we're actually safer than we've ever been throughout the course of human history, but it never feels like that because we're bombarded with social media and 24/7 news networks. You turn on the TV today, there's another mass shooting going on.
The fearmongers are very much
yeah. But even like there's another mass shooting. There's kids getting shot. Like you're seeing like the most horrible things imaginable, and there's no rhyme or reason to a lot of it. And it feels like in a lot of ways, and this ties into the violence too. That's what Art is. Like Art is this, like he has his own twisted, but even he doesn't. There's no code to him. Like he use a gun.
Blows up an entire like mall Santa display worth of children. That was the scene I was cackling at. It's insane.
That might be the high point of the movie. I think
it's
too.
So funny.
It is funny
because it's so perverse.
Yes,
and it's so dark and disgusting. And but it's so funny.
Yeah, it is funny. And but it also makes you think, like, you know what? Like, we've seen stuff like that in real life. And, like, why am I laughing at it? I'm laughing at it because it's a cartoon, but that's what good horror should do. It should make you feel uncomfortable. Like,
uncomfortable, but also, like, release some of
yes.
that tension. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And Art kind of, and, like, in this movie, he's the hand of an unseen evil force. We do see it in Victoria, but, like, he's kind of the hand of that. So there is it's almost, Terrifier has almost become this weird Christian franchise in some ways, but you know what I mean.
No, I get what you mean.
You get what I'm saying, but, like, I was trying to think why he became so popular, and that's kind of what I came up with. There is, like, it is this evolution of that original Michael Myers, that Halloween. He gets compared to Freddy in a lot of ways, and that's true too. But I feel like he's very similar to Michael Myers in the sense that he's
a disruptor.
He's a disrupting, and that's what makes him scary. Is like he has his own reasons, but like it's hard to figure him out because one minute he'll use a gun, the next minute he's pouring acid on you. The next minute, he's shoving a rat down your throat.
There's no right. Yeah,
you don't know what he's going to do next, and he thinks it's hilarious.
He sure does.
The characters. What I do like about these, the characters are all horrified by it, and I think these movies have done a good job of presenting.
He's the one person who's not taking it seriously.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, and I do think there's the movies have done a pretty good job consistently presenting it that way. So that's what I wanted to say about Art.
Awesome.
All right.
Worth a watch.
Worth a watch. The cameos that I wanted to mention.
The cameos. Chris Jericho, of course.
Let's start with Jericho. He gives one of the worst performances.
But it's great.
He's in the beginning of the movie. I had forgotten he's in part 2.
He is.
But he does like he was reacting.
Oh. It's great.
Then he gets his face ripped off.
It's so sweet.
It's so good.
He's a playable character in the Terrifier video game.
Is he?
You can play as the little girl, Victoria, Art, or Chris Jericho.
I got a kick out of him. So
he is fun.
We also had in a bar scene, we had Daniel Roebuck and Clint Howard. Yeah,
Roebuck is I like Roebuck a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I started to have a beef with Roebuck because he's in all of the goddamn Rob Zombie movies. When he popped up here, I was a little bit like, oh, are we getting to that territory now? Because it was like Clint Howard and Roebuck, and I'm like...
It starts to feel like horror convention all-stars.
Yeah, so it worked out fine. I think that sequence is pretty fun.
Yeah.
I hope that is not something...
I felt uncomfortable during that sequence, too.
Sure.
Yeah, it was... Sorry, what were you saying?
No, I hope that scene is not like a sign of things to come for Terrifier. I know that Damien and David Howard Thornton are at a lot of cons, and I hope they don't. I hope they resist the urge to just start casting.
Yes,
because it takes me out of it sometimes. That scene worked. I could see how it could become too much for me personally.
There's one cameo though that I actually kind of loved. One more, Savini. Tom Savini shows up.
That was fun. Yeah, that was good.
I like that cameo because he's not playing like a role. He's playing it's very much a cameo.
I kind
of like cameos as cameos now. Like he's being interviewed. He's like a bystander of the art attack at the mall.
Actual cameos. Traditional cameo. That's a cameo.
And I feel like Savini is a perfect one for this franchise because of
he's the godfather of
the effects, and he's influenced a lot of this, and I think part of what made this series what it is the effects.
A lot of the kids that graduated from his school, I think, worked on this.
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain of this. Mm-hmm. I think I read it somewhere. He was fun.
I always like Savini as an actor, too.
Yeah, me too. Underrated he's got good comedy chops.
He does. Funny guy.
So.
There we go. Yeah.
Excellent.
Anything else to say about
Terrifier 3? Check it out. Or, your mileage may vary. I like it. So.
All right, we're going to take a little break.
Yes,
I am going to have we're doing a holiday break. I am going to record my top 10 of the year.
When we come back, it'll probably be a bit of a surprise for you guys. I don't know what we're going to do yet. So.
Let's leave it as a surprise. You and I will.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Talk about it. I have some ideas that I want to talk to you about, but
so that'll be fun. Nice gift to open after Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody opens a late gift. There's always a late gift.
I'm going to have a late Christmas with some of my family this year.
It happens every year.
Yeah, I have to.
You open presents with somebody late. So
yeah, we alternate.
We did ours early. How
did
lovely.
You? Yeah.
I got Dr.
Yeah.
Tony
Oh,
here.
yeah. Sorry.
You got the.
We did. I thought you were talking about. Yeah.
Oh no, we got the Toretto household.
I've been staring at it the whole time. You've been holding Dr. Tongue the whole time. It's been quite adorable.
Yes, he's hanging out with me.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays to everybody. Stay scared, everybody.
Stay warm.